One of the things that I want to ask all of you, and I'm going to diverge a bit from the questions that I designed. The Tamil Nadu State New Policy for Women, 2021, states that one of the key objectives is to bring additional 1 crore women into the SHG fold. Ensure that 40% of the state GSDP comes from women in the workforce. Reach out to 10,000 women to reduce the skill gap with the appropriate technology training, to allow for lateral entry at the mid-career level, second career entry for women who've quit their career for raising family or mobility issues. So, music to my ears, right? And Aarti is talking about bringing 100 women on the boards. There are a lot of good statistics about Tamil Nadu. Like literacy rate is at about 82%. The gross enrollment ratio in the undergraduate programs is 49%. 23% women employment and the in urban Tamil Nadu. We want to take it significantly higher. What can we do to build career intentionality among girls? And my opinion is that it should start in class 6, at least. And I would like to hear from each one of you. Kalpana, would you go first? Because I have a choice question for Jayashree later.
It's an interesting question. I was actually thinking about it. I'm mentoring Richa Gupta, who is working with the Delhi government, and she was one of the co-founders of the happiness curriculum, and she has introduced that concept of entrepreneurship in Delhi schools along with Mr. Manish Sisodia, along with the Education Minister, Mr. Manish Sisodia. So when I'm working with her on a project. So basically I feel it's a good move that government wants to serve the unbanked, but actually 97% of the eligible women are already into self-help groups. There's a lot of duplication which has happened. We should make use of technology, and only the groups should be strengthened rather than forming new groups, because when targets are set, people break original groups and form new groups. So instead, I feel to promote both entrepreneurship, what you say is right, it should start at the school level. So school's curriculum should bring in a concept of entrepreneurship, and government's motive is laudable, but they should actually appraise individually, because self-help group as a concept works to build the social collateral, and for social empowerment, it is very helpful in terms of improving the sex ratio, education level, literacy level, digital literacy. But self-help group cannot be the panacea for all the problems. So somewhere the focus should shift on entrepreneurship, and freebies, sorry to say that, but that should stop, because once the moratorium was, I'm also leading a company, once moratorium was introduced, people had cash, but they were waiting for waivers. So once in 5 years when there is an election, although we are regulated by RBI, we are really worried what stance each state is going to take. So I think enabling policies, a lot of involvement of women also in policy making, like how many women were involved in drafting such policies, and consultation. Now focus group consultation is not happening. Of course, we get to comment on the policies, but even in framing, if women are involved, the gender sensitivity based on our experience, we can bring in that practical dimension. And I think entrepreneurship, like when Taiwan has done so well, China has done so well, all the countries, Finland, others have actually been the role models in terms of promoting women in boards and women in leadership positions. I think we have a long way to go. I think enabling policies are required.
Thank you, Kalpana. Meera, what would you say is the need of the hour at, let's say, class 5 or class 6 to make women believe that they are going to be the prince? No prince is going to come to rescue them.
Sure, I think a right father and mother can say that message to them. But in that context of when is the right age to help women make career choices, I'm talking about a certain segment, not the underprivileged or the bottom of the pyramid. I'm talking about our kids who go to college today, who go to who take higher education, but still the ratio of them getting into the workforce and staying in the workforce and the growing in that workforce is very little. So that's the sector or the segment that I am talking about. There, what I see is a kind of, a self-discovery and a talent development that can rightly happen in their college education. I think that is the right way to help them build their career choices, whether it is an employment or entrepreneurship there for them. Another aspect I would look at how we look at children embodying the career aspirations when they are in class 6 and 7. I don't think both my daughters have another choice because they have seen their mother. So I think it is more important for us to ensure the women today embody themselves as role models so that the children in school can actually be clear about the career that they will have to choose, and they start thinking about it when they are in school. And when they come to college, if they can be provided with the right skills and competencies and a model that can help them to self-discover, then I think clearly there is a reason for why they will join the workforce. I mean, if you look at the history, the pages of the history, and look at when did women contribute a lot to workforce, I think there was a lot of purpose behind it, right? During the war, during the ancient ages, there was no problem with women contributing to the workforce. There was a purpose that was created for them to contribute to the workforce. I think for women, we need to position that kind of a purpose of their need to be part of that workforce, which is going to be the driving force for them to choose. From our own experience, we run a one-semester program for prototyping. We call it ProtoSem. Students from different engineering colleges, there is nothing called, I'm not looking at a gender inclusion in that. We admit students from different engineering colleges. It's literally an 8-to-8 program. We don't call them mechanical, IT, aeronautical, or civil engineers. We call them innovation engineers. So they come into the program, they take a real world problem, predominantly from the industry because we work very closely with industry, and they learn the emerging technology skills and solve the problem. During this program, one experience I personally had is we got an opportunity, or we currently work with ThoughtWorks and partner with them on their initiative called WILD, Women in Leadership Development, where they sponsor students during their third year to this program, and through the program, the women leaders in the organization provide them the vision to see their growth inside ThoughtWorks. I have seen a lot of women who were very shy, submissive, who weren't really thinking about a great career after their engineering education, had making that choice. And I can see the transformation in them now when they are placed in the company and they are leading as examples. So,
Thank you. I have a question for Aarti. The same. When do you think we should start building career intentionality?
I think as soon as you possibly can, and as soon as the child is able to speak, honestly. Everybody has to work, and they have to work irrespective. I think the important thing is to enable children to think about purposeful work. And it doesn't matter, materially what that work will entail. Some of us may not have the luxury of thinking of purposeful work without material return, but I think it's very useful to encourage young children to think about it from a very young age, Meera. I just want to also add, I don't know if I'm going to get a chance again, but I do want to make this one point, which is I feel more and more that women know what empowerment is, women know what to aspire for, and women, can do it, right? I think the problem is with the men. And I mean this, I don't mean this flippantly at all or frivolously at all. And I think there aren't enough programs, whether it's government, whether it's private sector, whether it's the non-profit sector, at least the non-profit sector, we have a few that we can claim exist, that will enable men to deal with these really bright, smart, empowered women. And I think half the problems arise because men struggle. 5,000 years of patriarchy, you're not going to be able to change it easily enough. So I wish there were more programs systemically that helped men deal with the potential insecurities that they may be facing when they're surrounded by empowered women. And I think we need to do a lot more there if we want to. Women's empowerment is not the woman's problem. It's a societal problem. And so we need the current decision makers, who sadly are more men, to be more proactive and be enabled to address the challenges of empowered women around.
Thank you. Jayashree, how can we make all this possible? How do we get a lot of women into self-help groups? How do we make the state GSDP 40% from women? All of this, how do we make it happen?
Thank you, Ranjani. But there are two questions I would like to answer. What you asked the others, I thought I have a view on that. Yeah. When do we start the sensitization? I think it starts from birth. And more than the boy child, it's the girl child also who needs sensitization. That's my personal feeling. So basically, we tell the girls, you have to sit this way, you have to talk this way, you have to dress this way, you have to even eat this way. That's never told to the boys. So who does all this talking? It's the mothers, sadly. It's the mothers who tell, don't do this, don't do that. There's nothing told to the boys. So this sort of sensitization or the broad outlook which has to come, has to start from birth. That's my feeling. Because the kids start learning, the moment it starts seeing, hearing, it starts learning. So everything is imbibed in the child as and when it is born. That is my feeling. So we have to start. And sadly, do we teach our boys to make tea? Or do we teach them cooking as mothers? We don't. Now possibly things are changing. Now I have taught my son. I do not know how many people really do that. So my son is now looking for somebody as a soulmate who would be an empowered woman, who would be able to do cooking, who would also be able to go out and make a living for herself, not because to he or she has to give it to the family kitty, but to empower herself because she is a person and she needs it for herself. That is what his thinking is. And then he respects every woman, whatever be her dress, whatever be her style of talking, whatever be her community, color, caste, whatever. So the point I'm trying to make is, we have to start from our family. It's not just the society or the government. It starts with our family. That's my point of view, which I wanted to say. And your second question about policies, right? About the policies, yes, you did mention about the women policy.
Not only government, but what would you like to see happening in the companies? You already have so many companies employing so many women. What policies do you think they can make just as much? What do they expect from the government to make all of these policy objectives achievable?
Yeah. See, basically, they should be more inclusive, like what Kone director said. It starts from there. You start having an inclusive attitude, where you include people from all walks of life and from all, from both genders, and even the third gender if need be. If they are, qualified, yes, they should also be given an equal opportunity. So it starts from the attitude change at all levels. And from the policy side, yes, as I was telling, if they can say, okay, I will have certain number of people here from the women in my mid-level, in my in the shop floor, in the mid-level executive, or at the top level. Yes, there are bright women everywhere, and it is possible. It's just that the attitude has to change. And the major policy change which needs to be done, especially for women, is yes, biologically we have to bear the children, right? So we need to take off maternity leave. Yes, we can talk about paternity leave, but that comes after the child is born. So we do need certain days off. And most of the IT companies I see nowadays, especially the mid-level IT companies, I'm not talking about the Fortune 500 companies where they have a different set of rules and everything. But the mid-level IT companies, you see them, sadly, when they know that a girl is getting pregnant, she's married or she's going to get married, they start easing her out. They want her out of the company because they know she's going to have to take maternity leave. But this is a very sad state of affairs. And then, as you rightly said about skilling, reskilling, these are things which can be included in the policy of the company. And what better way than the NGOs and people like you who can sensitize them and get them in. And from our side, yes, we are bringing in the women policy where we are talking about upskilling women after the, especially after the COVID, where women really had to take a back seat and are not willing to come back to the front seat again. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the challenges that we have seen is that there's so much of responsibility that has been kind of moved to their plates without too much of discussion or agreement from the women, that now it's like, well, I have all of this. You want me to add one more thing? Be real, right? So, yeah, thank you. I think all of you have talked about the fact that we don't really need empowerment, right? We need to have people get out of our ways, right? We need to teach our children that there is no question of inequality. If we can set that mental model from the day they're born, we would be able to get more girls into mechanical engineering, right? For the past, from about 2006, 7, 8, TCS used to have 50% women in the incoming fresher class. At the vice president level, we were 3 women. And it's a company that at that point in time was about 2.5 lakhs. Right. So what happens to all our women? Why do they drop out? And what can we do as society to encourage parity? Childbearing is our job, but does child rearing have to be our sole responsibility as well? Right? And why do we assume that it has to be? So when I ask these questions to women who are about 18, 20 years old, they look at me, which planet is she from? Well, obviously it's my job. Well, no, that your mother thought it was her job, your grandmother thought it was her job. You don't have to assume that it is your job. Have you questioned it? But if we can make that happen at each of our levels, you at the board level, you at the mid-management, technology experts, entrepreneurs level, Kalpana at the SHG level, and micro-entrepreneurs level, and you with policies. Here's a group of empowered women who are going to make the difference. Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you for the opportunity to chair this panel.